Okay, my research is on are concussions in football affecting parenting? And the key to this is finding cognitive dissonance. The research question throughout this process is, does cognitive dissonance occur when parents are allowing their children to play football? A little bit about the concussion background. There have been more increasing numbers throughout the years of former retired NFL players that have suffered concussions. They have developed memory loss, cognitive issues that have resulted in dementia, Alzheimer's, and depression. And there are approximately 3.8 million concussions throughout the world of sports in 1 year, and there's none other more than come from football. And in the NFL, has been recorded on average over the past 10 years, they've had on average 1,700 concussions per year. The methodology throughout this research, the researchers collected 3 different set of parents that participated in the research that were involved in in-depth interviews, and it was inside of the family's home. And this is important because this has strong internal validity, because where it's inside of the family's home, they're more comfortable and they will give you more correct answers. Also, the validity went even farther when the researcher knew each family personally. And this is better for the researcher, who is myself, to give any more possible cognitive dissonance, because to find cognitive dissonance, you need to have the interview as comfortable as possible. So what is cognitive dissonance? Cognitive dissonance, according to dictionary.com, is anxiety that results from simultaneously holding contradictory or otherwise incompatible attitudes or beliefs. Leon Festinger is the founder of cognitive dissonance. He found this in 1959 through his own experiences. He thinks this is while the person is trying to reduce conflicting thoughts, he or she will knowingly dodge the facts and will act upon beliefs and how they feel. Cognitive dissonance examines conflicting attitudes, beliefs, or behaviors of that person. So a great example of cognitive dissonance is smoking. Smokers know the health hazards. They know what could possibly happen from that by receiving cancer, but yet they hold that against their attitudes and morals, and they avoid the potential problems to their body and do it anyway. And that's the dissonance part of the theory. The methodology is the partakers were in-depth interviews. They all had male children that were from the age of 6 to 12. All 3 sets of parents were known beforehand. They were granted full discretion, and they were all recorded as well. And the internal validity, to touch up on that a little bit more before we go into the results, is the families were inside an environment they were very comfortable. And like I said before, you have to have the interviewers comfortable, or you won't get the correct answers that you need. Because if you have the people comfortable, you'll pick up on discomfort even more. Prior to the interviews, the parents were sat down and they were given the statistics and what could possibly happen from concussions. The researcher needed to tell the families that so they will know they are full aware of the repercussions of concussions and what they could do a lot later down the line. And after the interview, the researcher compiled all the information, tried to pick up on every little piece of discomfort and how they acted based upon their answers. So let's get into the results. Family number 1, the father played football. He never remembers having any concussions. He remembers having headaches. But when asked if he thought he had any concussions, he kind of got defensive and said he never had a concussion, but he was never checked or anything. And this could be a sign of cognitive dissonance because the father could be in possible denial or minimizing the danger. As for both parents, they said that sports are important inside of the family. And they both stood beside the fact that they're not going to hold their child back from playing a sport if he doesn't want to. So, and the father said it's a tradition inside of their family to play football. So this could be another sign of cognitive dissonance because after being known the facts of what could happen to his child and concussions, he's kind of saying a tradition as an excuse to let his child play football, even though he knows the outcomes of concussions in football. And he also said, I actually have a quote up here, he said, technology and equipment are the best they have ever been, so it should keep football players more safe. And This could be another sign of cognitive dissonance from the father. He is using this. He knows what could happen to his son by playing, but yet he is using technology and equipment as an excuse to let his son play. And the mother feels that football is the most aggressive sport. She don't want her son to grow up as being a soft person. So she was just trying to keep him away from being bullied, so she thought letting her son play football, this could be a sign of maturity from the son. As for family 2, father also played high school football. The mother is engaged in sports. He was 6 years old, so he's not into football yet. But both parents feel fine with him eventually playing football into the future and are excited to see him play. The father says that concussions are just a part of the game. He just believes that it's kind of like another injury, but after stating the facts, you know they're just not another injury. They could have a lot of long-term health problems. And the mother added on the issue, and she kind of took a different standpoint of the father. She said, I wouldn't want my child to play for a long period of time after a concussion and maybe never again. Both shown signs of being involved with cognitive dissonance by admitting the facts that some of the hard hits that are being taking place in football that could keep them away from the game, but they're not going to step in and do anything for their kid not to play. So they were ignoring and keeping their son away from football because of it. As for family number 3, this family showed probably the least amount of cognitive dissonance, but the mother and father will eventually decide if their son plays or not. The son is 12 years old. He is currently playing Little League football right now. They've never forced sports on the child, and the family points out that the facts on football concussions are a big deal inside of their family. The family believes that it's a big problem, and I actually have a quote from the mother on what she feels like after one concussion you should really start putting up a flag to the family. She says, once you have one, I think you should start being more cautious. But after the second one, you should step away from the game, just take care of the body. The long-term issues are bad, and I would surely tell my son he has to stop playing if he receives more than one. So, I mean, not so much cognitive dissonance from family 3, but because they are more cautious and they change their beliefs after being told the facts. They weren't as aware of some of the facts as the 2 previous families, so they did change their beliefs and morals into making a decision on their son. So in the conclusion, all 3 families did show 3 different types of cognitive dissonance. It seems as if the parents do not look into the injury until after it happens to their child. And why is this important? I think football is the most popular sport in America, and this is important for our next generation to understand the health hazards and what could happen from concussions. And this is a serious issue, not only for the children and for the players, but I think this is a very serious issue for the parents. You have to make decisions. You have to step in and take accountability out of this stuff. And this also is a better understanding of limitations, once again, not only for the child, but for the family as well. And there's my word.